In Hollywood, image is currency. Perfection is expected. And for many young stars trying to build a career in front of millions of eyes, the pressure to look flawless can be overwhelming. But behind the red carpets, magazine covers, and viral social media moments, the reality can be far more complicated. For actress Sydney Sweeney, one of the fastest rising stars of the last decade, that reality included years of quiet insecurity, self-doubt, and a struggle that millions of Americans know all too well: body image. Today, Sweeney is widely recognized for her breakout performances on hit television shows like Euphoria and The White Lotus. She's become a red carpet regular, a sought-after Hollywood talent, and a social media phenomenon with millions of fans around the world. But in recent interviews, Sweeney has been opening up about something far more personal than awards or career milestones. She has spoken candidly about the emotional challenges she faced growing up. Moments when she felt uncomfortable in her own skin, when she worried that her body would define her career, and when she simply wanted to disappear from the attention that came with growing up differently from her peers. At one point, she admitted she felt like hiding, and her story is now sparking a much larger conversation across the United States about body image, self-confidence, and the intense scrutiny placed on young women in the entertainment industry. Because behind every glamorous Hollywood success story, there is often a much deeper human experience, one filled with pressure, vulnerability, and resilience. Tonight, we take a closer look at the journey of Sydney Sweeney, how she navigated years of body image struggles, what she has revealed about those difficult moments, and why her honesty is resonating with millions of people across America. Do you understand why Sydney Sweeney's comments about body image have struck such a powerful chord with audiences? It's important to understand both her rise in Hollywood and the cultural environment that shaped her journey. Sydney Sweeney was born in Spokane, Washington, far from the bright lights of Los Angeles. Unlike many Hollywood stars who grow up surrounded by the entertainment industry, Sweeney's early life was relatively normal. Her family had no major ties to Hollywood, and her path into acting began with a determination that those close to her have described as unusually focused for someone so young. According to past interviews, Sweeney reportedly created a presentation for her parents when she was a teenager, laying out a plan to pursue acting professionally. The proposal included research, potential career opportunities, and a structured timeline. It was, in many ways, the first sign of the relentless ambition that would eventually push her toward the top tier of Hollywood's young talent. Her parents ultimately agreed to support the move, and the family relocated to Los Angeles so she could pursue acting more seriously. The transition wasn't easy. Breaking into Hollywood is notoriously difficult, particularly for young performers trying to stand out in a crowded industry. Sweeney spent years auditioning for small roles, appearing in guest spots on television shows, and slowly building a resume. Early in her career, she appeared in projects like Pretty Little Liars and Grey's Anatomy, smaller roles that helped introduce her to casting directors but didn't immediately make her a household name. That breakthrough moment finally came with HBO's provocative drama series Euphoria, created by filmmaker Sam Levinson. On the show, Sweeney plays Cassie Howard, a character defined by vulnerability, emotional instability, and an intense desire to be loved and accepted. The role required Sweeney to portray complicated themes surrounding identity, sexuality, and self-worth. And while critics praised her performance for its emotional depth, the show itself also sparked significant national conversation because of its mature content and unflinching portrayal of teenage life. But for Sweeney, the role came with another challenge: intense public scrutiny. Euphoria became one of HBO's most talked-about series, and its young cast quickly became cultural icons. Social media exploded with commentary about everything from the show's storylines to the personal lives and appearances of its actors. Suddenly, Sweeney was no longer just another working actress trying to land roles. She had become a public figure. And with that visibility came something many young stars struggle to prepare for: the relentless spotlight placed on their bodies, their looks, and their perceived image. Across Instagram, TikTok, and entertainment media outlets, conversations about Sweeney often focus not only on her acting but also on her physical appearance. This is not uncommon in Hollywood. especially for female performers. The entertainment industry has long faced criticism for placing unrealistic expectations on women regarding beauty standards, weight, and body type. Studies and industry reports have repeatedly shown that actresses often experience far greater pressure than their male counterparts to maintain a certain look. For someone like Sweeney, who entered the industry as a teenager and rose to fame in her early 20s, that pressure can become particularly intense. And in recent interviews, she has been increasingly candid about how that scrutiny affected her. According to Sweeney, growing up with a body that developed differently from many of her peers created moments of discomfort and self-consciousness. She has described feeling out of place and sometimes wishing she could simply blend in rather than stand out. Those feelings, she explained in past conversations with media outlets, sometimes led her to want to hide her body rather than celebrate it. For many Americans listening to her story, those emotions sound deeply familiar. Body image struggles are not limited to celebrities. The renewed attention around Sydney Sweeney's body image reflections began after several recent interviews and public appearances where the actress spoke more directly about her past insecurities and evolving self-confidence. In those discussions, Sweeney acknowledged that growing up in the public eye has been complicated. She explained that during her younger years, she often struggled with how others perceived her body. According to her comments in interviews, she sometimes felt reduced to her appearance rather than recognized for her talent and dedication as an actress. For a performer who had spent years working toward professional credibility, that dynamic could be frustrating. Reports from entertainment publications note that Sweeney has also addressed misconceptions surrounding her roles on television, particularly in Euphoria, where the show's intense storylines and visual style frequently draw public debate. The actress has emphasized that the creative choices made on the show are part of a broader storytelling approach, and that her goal as an actor has always been to serve the narrative of the characters she portrays. But the public reaction to those roles, especially online, has sometimes blurred the line between character and performer. In interviews, Sweeney has explained that the comments and assumptions people make about actors can create emotional challenges, particularly when those opinions focus heavily on physical appearance. Still, she says the experience has also helped her grow. Over time, Sweeney has spoken about learning to embrace her body and develop a stronger sense of self-confidence. Rather than allowing outside opinions to define her identity, she says she has worked to build a healthier relationship with her self-image. And that message, one of gradual self-acceptance, has resonated strongly with fans. Experts who study celebrity culture and media psychology say Sydney Sweeney's story reflects a broader trend affecting many young public figures. Dr. Pamela Rutledge, a media psychologist frequently cited in discussions about social media and identity, has previously explained that constant public evaluation can significantly affect how individuals perceive themselves. When someone's appearance becomes a subject of widespread commentary, it can reinforce insecurities that might otherwise fade with time. In Hollywood, that effect can be amplified. Entertainment reporters often note that female actors face an especially intense version of this scrutiny, with fashion commentary, paparazzi photos, and viral online debates all contributing to a cycle of public judgment. Yet at the same time, many analysts say the growing willingness of celebrities to discuss mental health and body image challenges may actually be shifting cultural conversations in a healthier direction. When actors like Sydney Sweeney speak openly about insecurity, it can humanize the celebrity experience and remind audiences that fame does not eliminate vulnerability, and that authenticity often resonates far more deeply than carefully curated public images. Not surprisingly, Sweeney's reflections quickly ignited discussion across social media platforms. On TikTok, fans began sharing clips of her interviews alongside personal stories about their own struggles with self-confidence. On X, formerly known as Twitter, users debated the pressures of Hollywood beauty standards and the way actresses are often judged by appearance before talent. Some supporters praised Sweeney for her honesty, saying her willingness to talk about insecurity made her more relatable. Others pointed out that conversations about body image are becoming increasingly common among younger celebrities, reflecting a generational shift toward greater openness around mental health and self-esteem. And in comment sections across the internet, thousands of fans shared messages of encouragement. Many saying that hearing someone as successful as Sweeney talk about these experiences helped them feel less alone. For Sydney Sweeney, the conversation about body image is only one part of a rapidly evolving career. The actress continues to take on high-profile projects and expand her presence in Hollywood. Industry analysts say her combination of dramatic talent, business ambition, and public relatability has positioned her as one of the most influential young actors of her generation. But her willingness to speak openly about personal struggles may become an equally important part of her public identity. In a media environment where audiences increasingly value authenticity, stars who share real experiences often build deeper connections with fans. And for many viewers, Sweeney's reflections represent something powerful, the reminder that confidence is rarely instant, and that even those who appear successful on the surface may have faced years of doubt behind the scenes. At its core, Sydney Sweeney's story isn't just about Hollywood. It's about growing up. It's about learning to navigate expectations, comparisons, and criticism, something nearly every American teenager experiences in one form or another. And it's about the long journey towards self-acceptance. For fans watching her career unfold, the honesty behind her words may be just as meaningful as the performances that made her famous. As conversations about body image and self-confidence continue across the country, stories like Sydney Sweeney's remind us that the pressures of appearance affect people in every walk of life. If you found this story meaningful or thought-provoking, join the conversation. Share your perspective in the comments. How do you think media and social platforms shape body image today? And if you want more in-depth coverage of the stories shaping culture, entertainment, and society in America, make sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive. Do you fully understand why Sydney Sweeney's reflections about body image have generated such widespread discussion? It's important to zoom out beyond her personal experience and examine the broader cultural environment that shaped it. Because while Sweeney's story is deeply personal, it also exists within a system that has influenced generations of actors, models, and entertainers long before she ever stepped onto a Hollywood set. The entertainment industry in the United States has always been closely tied to visual presentation. From the earliest days of cinema in the early 20th century, studios carefully curated the public images of their actors. Stars were expected to project a certain look, a certain personality, and a carefully managed lifestyle that reinforced Hollywood's idea of glamour. But over time, those expectations evolved into something more complicated. In the modern era, particularly since the rise of social media, celebrities are no longer judged solely by their performances on screen. Their appearances are analyzed constantly, from paparazzi photos to Instagram posts, red carpet outfits to casual street style. Every public moment becomes a potential headline. For young actresses entering this environment, the pressure. Cassie is a character whose entire emotional world revolves around the desire to be loved and validated. Her storyline explores themes of self-worth, romantic insecurity, and the dangerous impact of external validation. Throughout the series, Cassie's character struggles deeply with how others perceive her, particularly regarding her appearance. And in a striking example of art reflecting life, many viewers noticed parallels between Cassie's story and broader conversations about body image and self-esteem among young women. However, the same visibility that made the show successful also meant that its actors became subjects of constant public discussion. Clips from episodes went viral online. Screenshots circulated across fan pages. Comment sections filled with debates about storylines, characters, and appearances. For Sweeney, the experience was both exciting and overwhelming. On one hand, she had achieved the kind of career breakthrough that many actors dream about for years. On the other hand, the intense public attention often focused on aspects of her appearance rather than her acting performance. That dynamic, where talent becomes secondary to physical commentary, is something many actresses have spoken about over the years. In interviews, Sweeney has acknowledged that navigating those conversations required emotional resilience. Because while the entertainment industry celebrates beauty, it can also create an environment where young performers feel defined by it. And for someone who had already experienced insecurities growing up, that spotlight could sometimes amplify old doubts. The show, starring Zendaya as its central character Rue Bennett, quickly became one of the most talked-about television series of its era. Its visual style, bold storytelling, and willingness to explore controversial topics made it both widely praised and heavily debated. For Sweeney, the role of Cassie required extraordinary vulnerability. Sydney Sweeney's openness about her body image struggles has resonated with audiences partly because the feelings she describes are so widely shared. Growing up in the United States today means navigating a world filled with constant visual comparison. Social media platforms present carefully curated images of beauty, success, and lifestyle, often creating unrealistic expectations about how people should look. For teenagers especially, that environment can be difficult. In several interviews, Sweeney has spoken about feeling uncomfortable with her body during adolescence. As she developed physically earlier than some of her peers, she sometimes felt self-conscious about the attention that came with it. Rather than embracing that attention, she often wanted to avoid it. According to her own reflections, there were moments when she wished she could simply blend in, when she felt like hiding instead of standing out. Those experiences are familiar to many young women across the country. Psychologists who study adolescent development frequently note that puberty can bring dramatic changes in body perception. Teenagers who develop earlier than their peers often face unique social pressures, including unwanted attention or judgment from others. And when those experiences occur alongside the pressures of pursuing a public career, the emotional complexity can increase dramatically. For Sweeney, acting itself sometimes became a refuge. Through performance, she could step into different characters and explore emotions that might have been difficult to express in everyday life. Acting allowed her to channel vulnerability into storytelling. But even as her career progressed, the internal process of building self-confidence continued. And it's that process, the slow, often imperfect journey towards self-acceptance, that she now speaks about more openly. While Euphoria was the project that brought Sweeney mainstream recognition, her career has continued expanding across multiple genres and platforms. She later appeared in the critically acclaimed satire The White Lotus, created by Mike White. The show became a cultural phenomenon, earning numerous awards and sparking conversation about wealth, privilege, and social dynamics. Sweeney's role in the series demonstrated her range as an actress, proving she could move beyond a single breakout character. She also expanded into film projects, including the psychological drama Reality, where she portrayed real-life intelligence specialist reality winner. The performance was widely praised for its subtlety and emotional intensity. Critics noted that Sweeney brought a quiet realism to the role, anchoring the film's tense narrative with a grounded portrayal of a controversial figure in American national security history. These performances helped reshape public perception of her career. Rather than being seen solely as a rising television star, Sweeney began establishing herself as a serious dramatic actor capable of tackling challenging material. At the same time, she also began taking on a more active role behind the scenes. Through her production company, she started developing projects that reflect stories she wants to tell, another step toward building long-term influence in Hollywood. But even as her professional life continued to evolve, the conversation about body image remained part of her public narrative. And that conversation began expanding far beyond the entertainment industry. Body image concerns have been studied extensively by psychologists and health experts across the United States. According to research published by the National Eating Disorders Association and other public health organizations, millions of Americans experience dissatisfaction with their physical appearance at some point in their lives. These feelings can be influenced by many factors, including cultural standards of beauty, media representation, and personal experiences during adolescence.